Welcome. Tonight you'll hear stories about the unseen and the unknown. Stories about strangers who shouldn't be trusted, and the dangers hiding in the woods, and even shadows that watch you in your own home. These aren't just stories. They are reminders that fear can be closer than you think. So turn off the lights and listen closely. Because once you start, there's no turning back. Before we begin, I need you to understand something. This isn't a ghost story. There are no demons, no curses. The fear in this story comes from something far more real. From people. I trust animals more than humans. Not because animals are perfect, but because they don't pretend. People do. My first lesson came when I was very young. I remember bright lights, the constant echo of voices, the rattle of shopping carts rolling over tile floors. I was small and I was afraid of getting lost, so I held onto the cart in front of me with both hands. I believed I was following someone who loved me. At some point, a strange thought slipped into my mind. It didn't feel like curiosity. It felt like a warning. Look up. When I did, my hands weren't holding the cart I recognized. The person beside me wasn't familiar. I was standing next to a grown man I had never seen before. He noticed the confusion on my face. He noticed the fear, and he said nothing. No apology, no concern, no attempt to guide me back. I let go and stepped away, my heart racing so loudly I could hear it in my ears. That's when he laughed. Not loudly, not nervously, just enough to let me know he enjoyed the moment. I found my family only seconds later. They hadn't noticed I was gone. What still keeps me awake at night isn't how it happened. It's knowing that if I hadn't looked up, no one would have stopped him. Years passed, and I learned something important. Danger doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it knocks. There was a neighbor who watched too closely. One afternoon, he stood at my door with an excuse that didn't make sense. He claimed my pet was outside, even though the animal he described looked nothing like mine. I challenged him, and the moment another adult appeared behind me, his confidence collapsed. He stumbled. He apologized. He left. The timing wasn't random. He came on a day he believed I would be alone. After losing the only person who ever made me feel safe, I ended up somewhere that was supposed to protect people like me. It didn't. One man decided my body was a topic for conversation. Another decided my name was his to use whenever he pleased. He rode past me again and again, speaking it slowly, deliberately. Like ownership. No one stopped him. One day he cornered me. He told me he wanted me, that he could take care of me. My body shook so badly I could barely stand. When I said no, he simply walked away, as if he'd been testing something. Another man never spoke at all. He watched from his car, circling streets whenever he saw me walking. The message was clear. I see you. The most dangerous lesson came later, from someone who lived with me. She claimed to love animals, but I watched her treat a defenseless creature like it didn't matter. Like pain was an inconvenience. I intervened every time I could. She also brought strangers into our shared space, people she barely knew, people who didn't belong there. One night, the truth surfaced in a way so surreal it didn't feel real at all. What she tried to hide was never really hidden. Authority stepped in. For once, I wasn't alone. When I left, I took the animal with me. I don't believe it would have survived otherwise. The final lesson hurt the most. Someone related to me crossed a boundary that should never need explaining. What started as praise turned into pressure. Pressure turned into persistence. When I said no, I was treated like I was wrong. That's when I learned the truth. Being family doesn't make someone safe. Animals don't pretend. They don't test boundaries. They don't wait for you to be vulnerable. They don't smile when they shouldn't. When an animal trusts you, it's because you earned it. I listen to fear now. I don't ignore it. I don't explain it away. Because fear saved me more than once. And if trusting animals more than people makes me strange, then I'll stay strange. Stay alert. Trust your instincts. And remember, sometimes the scariest thing in the room is the person standing right next to you. They say the woods hold secrets. Some things move in the darkness, unseen, unheard. And sometimes they come too close. Stay alert. I was reminded of this experience recently when I heard a relative was moving into my city and asked for help. It brought back a memory I've tried not to think about for years. My extended family loved camping. It was a tradition that stretched across most of my teenage years and into my early 20s. Big group trips, big campgrounds, too many tents to count. They thought of me as a city girl. What they forgot was that I knew the woods well enough to respect them. That trip was the last time we ever camped together as a group. The campground was laid out like a circle. One side held the fire pit and picnic tables, where everyone gathered at night. The other side was for tents, lined along the edge of the clearing where the woods began. I ended up sharing a tent near the outer edge, farther from the fire than most. Some of the adults didn't like that idea. They worried about me being so far from the center. Someone joked they'd keep an eye on me. That night, after a long hike, I fell asleep early. Sometime later, I woke to the sound of movement. At first, I assumed it was a small animal, squirrels, raccoons, something normal. The sound was inconsistent, crinkling, pausing, starting again. I called out, half asleep, thinking someone was messing with me. A voice answered back, laughing, telling me it was probably nothing. So I went back to sleep. Later that night, after dinner, the cousins gathered to play games in the dark. Hide and seek. It had rules, flashlights, phones, stay within the campground. It was supposed to be harmless, until someone screamed. Not laughter, not playful shouting, a scream that meant danger. Adults ran toward the sound. Flashlights cut through the trees. Someone shouted for everyone to come out of the woods. 3 people stumbled back in the clearing, panicked, saying they heard something heavy moving just beyond the trail. Not footsteps, not quite. Too heavy for a person, too deliberate for an animal they recognized. The adults laughed it off, said it was probably wildlife, told everyone to calm down. Some people locked themselves in their cars. Others went back to their tents. I checked the time. It was almost 3 a.m. I woke again hours later to whispering, voices from nearby tents, low and tense, pacing. The sound sped up when people spoke and slowed when everything went quiet. It was heavier than a deer, lighter than a bear. Wrong. Just before dawn, I woke to the sound of breathing, right above my head. Slow, deliberate. Someone whispered for me not to move, that there was an animal right outside the tent. The breathing moved from tent to tent, sniffing, lingering. The smell came next. not like any animal I knew. When someone screamed, the sound finally broke the silence. Adults rushed over as the thing ran off. They said it was just an animal, that it would leave. But it came back. This time something scraped against the tent wall. Claws. Digging. Low to the ground. Too close. We were told to stay inside, to stay quiet. No one would say what it was. When daylight finally came, hikers passing by stopped and stared. They asked if we were okay. They asked if someone should call a ranger. Someone said it was just hungry. Someone else threw rocks until it squealed. The sound it made didn't belong to anything I recognized. When we finally stepped out, there were marks in the mud. Claw marks. Too large. Too wrong. When I asked what it was, no one answered. Later they said not to worry about it, that it was just an animal. We never camped together again. Now, if anyone in my family camps, they choose crowded places. Well-lit areas. Cabins. As for me, I don't go into the woods alone anymore. When I camp, I keep my tent close to the road. It's been years, and no one who saw it will tell me what it was. Not even the ones who laughed the loudest. Some places don't feel haunted at first. They feel watched. And by the time you realize something is wrong, it already knows you're there. I grew up on a busy suburban street in Torrance, California. I lived in an apartment complex whose name I won't share for safety reasons. I spent 12 years there before finally moving away. We moved in around 2003 when I was in 3rd grade. My parents were divorced. My dad lived 2 doors down. My brother and sister lived with him while I stayed with my mom. Our apartment was small, 2 bedrooms, and because my mom worked 2 jobs, I was often home alone. I had my own key. I walked home from school every day. From the beginning, the apartment felt wrong. I constantly felt like I was being watched, especially when I was alone. That feeling never faded. It lingered for years. Heavy, unavoidable. A few years later, my dad kicked my brother and sister out, and they moved in with us. I remember feeling relieved. I thought that whatever was in that apartment wouldn't bother me anymore if I wasn't alone. I was wrong. That's when the activity started. Not just the feeling of being watched, but actually seeing what was watching us. The apartment opened directly into the living room, which connected to the kitchen. Carpet turned to linoleum at a breakfast bar. From the living room, you could only see part of the kitchen. The rest stretched out of view. Near the living room was a door leading to an L-shaped hallway. My bedroom was on the right. The bathroom sat just before the turn. My mom's room was at the end. A half wall had been built so my sister could have her own space. I was in 5th grade when I saw it for the first time. I was sitting in the living room watching cartoons. From where I sat, I could barely see the hallway. Then, out of the corner of my eye, something moved. A tall, shadowy figure slowly peeked out from around the corner. It was as tall as the ceiling, unnaturally thin. Where its eyes and mouth should have been were darker voids, like holes cut into the shadow itself. One long arm wrapped around the corner, like it was playing peekaboo. I thought it was my brother at first, but he was in my mom's room. Then the realization hit me. This wasn't him. I screamed his name, over and over, but it was like my voice couldn't reach him. Panicking, I grabbed a pen and threw it. When I looked back, it was gone. After that, things escalated. Dishes shifted in cabinets. Cups fell on their own. My family blamed earthquakes, but I knew better. The fighting started soon after. Constant arguments, anger, fear. Looking back, I believe that's what fed it. The more chaos in the apartment, the stronger it became. In 2007, I saw something else. The power went out one summer night. Candlelight filled the living room. I was sitting near my sister's room when I turned my head. What I thought was a clothing rack wasn't. A face hovered inches from mine. Hollow eyes, a stretched black mouth, stringy black hair. I snapped my head toward it, and it vanished. Still, no one believed me. Until 2008. I came home one day to find my mom and sister burning sage. When they finished, my sister said something I'll never forget. We saw it too. The sage didn't help. If anything, it made things worse. Nothing stopped until we moved away in 2013. And when it finally ended, it ended completely. Years later, my sister confessed something she had never told anyone. She used to wake up at night, feeling watched. And in the moonlight, she would see it, standing beside her bed, watching her sleep.